by Zanu-PF, including a gender-biased cabinet that is clearly anti-women. The state is heavily militarized after the illegal takeover, and there has been the remasculinization of the political space as a result of the coup, yet many have elected to remain silent. The biggest scandal and treachery is the outcome of the Zanu-PF primaries, where out of 210 approved candidates for the House of Assembly, only 19 women, 11%, made it as parliamentary candidates. Yet this naked and shameless patriarch in Zanu-PF escapes the critical eye of those condemning Chamisa's statement. It is regrettable to note how some politicians have shamelessly forfeited the high moral ground of simple, unadorned accuracy to distort and exaggerate President Chamisa's statement while ignoring real issues. The real danger to our society is the corrupt and incompetent system which has facilitated thousands of child marriages and child prostitution due to poverty. A corrupt ruling party who recently launched a manifesto premised on a questionable economic paradigm and outrageous over-ambition goals. As young women who have suffered in extreme poverty and deprivation under a Zanu-PF government, we will not be distracted by sensationalization and misinformation. Our focus remains to reclaim our hope and dignity by mobilizing each vote in our numbers and to make sure President Chamisa wins resoundingly in the coming election. We are confident that under a Nelson Chamisa government, our needs such as jobs, better maternal health care, free education for girls, political inclusion and recognition of poverty shall be met. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, for reading the statement. I am only chairing. Maybe at the start I should have explained. Hashtag Young Women for Chamisa is not a reactionary group to only this incident, but it is a movement of young women across the country who are believing in the vision and the leadership of Nelson Chamisa. What we are doing is that we are mobilizing young women from the busy streets of Harare, busy streets of Bulawayo, right to the last hut in the rural areas, to say go out in your numbers and let's vote for Nelson Chamisa because he has continued to speak strongly and passionately about the issues of young women. I remember recently at Harare Hospital at a maternity ward, he spoke about maternal health. He promised that as soon as he becomes the president, as soon as he assumes power, he will take issues of maternal mortality rate serious. He will reduce maternal mortality rate from the 600 per 100,000 deaths that is currently happening to a lower a number. And he has spoken passionately about education, about free education for girls, about access to higher education for girls. He has spoken passionately about growing the economy in a pro-poor way where young women, vendors, those who are unemployed will also be able to benefit. So for us, Nelson Chamisa represents exactly what we want as young women. And what we are entering into as young women for Chamisa is a social contract with Nelson Chamisa to say we'll give him our vote and he in turn will fulfill his election promises. And we are worried by the way that politicians continue to spin simple messages, simple statements. A hyperbole like the one that President Chamisa used is simply to emphasize the impossibility of Emerson Mnangagwa ever garnering just 5% in a free and fair election. And he classified and clarified and categorized that in a free and fair election, Emerson Mnangagwa will not be able to get 5% of the vote. So we just want to put a full stop to this sensationalization of non-issues and focus on real issues. What are the election issues for us as young women? And who has been speaking passionately on those election issues on the candidates? And for us, it has been Nelson Chamisa. And today, we just want to make it clear that we support Nelson Chamisa and we stand by him. And we know that his statement, in as much as it has been taken by some people as pinned so that they can abuse public sentiment, we know that it was not meant in the way that it is being put. And we are urging other women to please not allow political people and political actors with interest to abuse their emotions and to sensationalize issues and distract them from the actual goal of getting into the election, voting for a candidate who will deliver on our issues as women. So I think at this point we will take questions, comments, clarifications as we go forward. Yes, Comrade Stados, the next slide.
Thank you very much for a well-researched and clear revolutionary press conference that you've articulated on the banner that President Chamisa did. But my question is, as young revolutionary women, what is your comment? I hear there are a few classical academic dwarfs that gather some detail under the sponsorship of the June. What is your comment on those few women in terms of their infinite wisdom or lack of detail on the comment?
Okay, I'll take a second person, then we from Sly and then turn at the back.
You have mentioned reckless statements being sensationalized. Is it not time that President Chamisa puts his house in order and avoid reckless statements so that you avoid this scenario that we are facing today that has brought you in this house today together with us to clarify certain issues which could have been avoided if he had also avoided reckless statements?
Okay, thank you. Noted, Rutan.
Generally, during electoral periods, voters analyze what candidates say, and in this instance, we have described the statement as being taken out of context. But in your opinion, as young women, does it still not objectify women for a whole president to then say that I'll give you my 18-year-old, whether it was politicking, whether it was what? But is that right for a presidential candidate, someone that you, as young women, are investing your lives into, to even utter those words, whether he's joking or not?
Okay, so we'll take the first three and then I'll take another round. I just want to answer to the question that Rutan asked. In fact, to us, it was not a joke. It was a serious statement where Nelson Chamisa, our president, was saying that it is impossible and utter madness to even think that Mnangagwa can get 5%. In as much as, it is impossible and utter madness for one to marry off their sister. That is how the statement should have been taken, and that is what he said. Because soon after the statement, he said, because it is impossible for me to marry marry off my sister. But some people just took a section of what he said, went with it to the media, sensationalized it. I think it is those people who are being irresponsible with what is being said by politicians, just to use those statements and to distract us from the real issues. Comrade Ostalos, you speak to the small group of women who gathered yesterday. I was shocked because in my very short life where I've been engaged, my adult life where I've been engaged with women's rights and women's issues. In 2008, when women were maimed, raped, killed, some children were left without parents, when our government failed to respond to socio-economic issues leading to the orphans, to children being orphaned due to HIV and other issues. When I was at the university, when I saw young women getting into prostitution, not by choice, but because they needed to have accommodation to be able to pay their school fees and everything. These very women you're talking about were nowhere to be seen. They only appeared from nowhere yesterday, starting to want to act like they have an interest in women's issues. So for me, this selective safeguarding of women's issues, which is to a political end, must stop. We must remind these women that we know we have students here. Who are part of our we have students here from Zimbabwe National Students Union who are part of the Nelson Young Women for Nelson Chamisa movement. We know that when we were in Zinato, and even when they're in Zinato, they continued to receive complaints from young women as young as 17 and 18 who were being made to give sexual favors to people who worked in the presidential scholarship office for them to be able to go to on the scholarship. These women are aware of these things. They've never spoken about these issues. The only issue we've seen or we have had them speaking about is what the hyperbole that was made by Nelson Chamisa in the UK. We understand it is the CDCs, it is politics, but I think that people need to be responsible in the way they tackle issues. These are serious issues for some of us. We do not sleep organizing. We do not sleep pushing so that we improve the social status, the political status, and the economic status of women. And so for some people to think that this is just an election, a political gimmick where they can just come and try and spin issues is quite unfortunate and regrettable. So I would like to urge other women that if they are serious about safeguarding the issues of young women, they must start with the real issues that we've seen every day. They must start with the state of young women right now is jobless people because of a non-performing economy. They must start with those issues. Let's talk about the rape, the politically motivated violence, and how it has affected women over the years. These are serious issues, and they do not talk and they do not speak to those issues. The only issue we've had them speaking about, it was my first time to see them. We go to forums where women come from different political parties, including Zanu-PF. Women converge. We talk about our issues. We talk about what is happening in the communities we are living in. These women, I only saw them yesterday. They just came. They spoke about this statement unashamedly, tried to misquote, change, and even distort what President Nelson Chamisa had said. It was quite unfortunate. I felt very uncomfortable with that kind of politics where people want to put to the fore things that are not important, or want to make issues out of statements that were never meant to mean what they are now saying they were meant to mean. Then maybe someone else can take the table on reckless statements. Or maybe I can quickly say, for me, I've been listening to the presidential candidate, Emerson Mnangagwa, and presidential candidate Nelson Chamisa, mostly. And, over time, I've noticed that, Mnangagwa's statements are just, they are crafted by someone else. It's not him speaking, it is George Charamba. Because Charamba writes the statement very carefully, researches on it, and then just gives it. He does not have to make a mistake, so we do not know who the real Mnangagwa looks like. For Nelson Chamisa, he's giving you who he is, okay? So sometimes he can, I cannot speak on his behalf to say maybe he made a reckless statement, because for me it's not a reckless statement. This was a hyperbole, and it just was being spinned. But half the time, if a candidate is to come, I remember when Barack Obama was running for presidency, Barack Obama gave America the real Barack Obama. He spoke from the heart. He sold his vision from the heart. It was not scripted. It was not pretentious. We must be wary of scripted, pretentious speeches that come with candidates who want to cover their flaws. So for me, I am supporting Nelson Chamisa, but I am not really his. I'm not in his team to then respond in an authoritative manner on why he makes the statements you are referring to. But if it is the UK statement that has made us gather here today, for us it was not a reckless statement, but it is very unfortunate that people in different spaces are manipulating that statement.
You have said it's impossible. You have said it's impossible for him to marry his own sister. But my colleagues here, some of them have reported of cases in Zimbabwe where incest has been found in certain areas geographically in Zimbabwe. And for you to say it's impossible, I don't think it's true, because it exists in some families as we speak. And you women, you have also been advocating for women, for children who have been raped by their own relatives. So this statement is aligned to, that's why I'm calling it a reckless statement, because it is being aligned to what is happening in the country. That's my question. That's why I'm calling it a reckless statement. And what do you say as activists who are supporting women?
Okay,
so if I may come in.
All right, maybe if we can take two more, and then Joanna will respond, and Virginia. So there's one thing. You can.
I'm sure you are underwriting this statement. Was that if we tried by all means to abolish Islam, where maybe older men they play around with their mining, and now we are having an opinion leader saying no. I will marry my 18-year-old to 17-year-old dad. What does that mean? Read.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, sometimes I think people are taking things out of proportion. Maybe it's because of unemployment. Maybe it's because look, if I meet a older woman, even when growing up, I can say, I'm well. It doesn't mean we are pedophile or conspiring to marry 10-year-old people. So I think sometimes there are serious issues out there that we have to focus on. Ease of unemployment, ease of leaking. We should actually be gathered here, finding means and ways on how to stop the bleeding leaking that Zanu-PF wants to do.
Yes.
So I think, yeah, I appreciate what they've done and also appreciate you gathered here, but I hope that in the future we gather more here rather than for us to.
My name is John Cassie. I'm not so sure how you take it yourself. Of course, you have explained the context from which this statement was said, but taking it from the general view of Zimbabwe and the status of the girl child rights, 31% of them are getting married before the age of 16. And here comes a candidate of a political party who talks of such an issue which is being castigated everywhere, and including the United Nations. Honestly speaking, I don't think that we should still context and supporting what he said instead of condemning the issue of demeaning women's rights. That would be right at the end of the day, because that would be like perpetuating the issue of undermining women's rights. I'm a man, but it pains me to hear of a man undermining a woman's rights.
I'll just take this round as the last one, so I will take 3 more and then we respond. Rutendo and then my brother here.
My first question, when Makumura was speaking, I was almost like at the age, what defines what is serious in Zimbabwe? I'm a young woman. I feel what Chamisa said is a very serious issue. And I feel it's just the same as unemployment. If someone is going to say they'll marry off a young woman, for me it's a serious issue. So I think that issue to say that people should gather or people should speak around serious issues should not really be, overshadowed by the things that we are raising. And then on my question, Maureen, you spoke of selective safeguarding of women issues.
Yes.
Zanu-PF was almost torched, let me put in quotes, in Buera during Morgan Chandra's funeral. We did not see young women coming out. And then today, Chamisa says a reckless statement. In my opinion, you are out. Are you also not guilty of the same selective safeguarding of women issues?
Yes, my brother.
My question is, I was listening as my brother Ostalos was speaking. Exactly. Are you not afraid that you will also be classified under the same umbrella as what did you call those girls who gathered at that hotel? Are you not afraid you will also be classified as those girls who just came to support Chamisa at a time of need? And okay, that's the question.
Okay. Any more questions before we take this round? Oh, okay. Because I said it's the last round unless.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you not doing more harm than good?
Put it down.
Okay.
Slide. The last one.
MDC supporters are voting for an MDC alliance. And within the alliance leadership, we have not seen women. And where are you?
Okay. Thank you for the questions. John, are you taking in? No. Okay. So I will start with the selective safeguarding of women's rights from Britain. Maybe I should explain that this movement, Young Women for Chamisa, is in its infancy. So at that time, it was not there. But us as individuals, the people who are here representing the movement today, can attest to the fact that we spoke strongly against violence. Whether we did not know the source of the violence because we are not part of the MDC, we spoke against the violence. And President Chamisa at that time put together a team to investigate on that violence and to act on the violence that had happened in Buera. I personally come from #SheVotes 2018, which is a movement that has been, also answering to your question, a movement that has been mobilizing young women since the start of last year, 2017, up to now, to register to vote, to run for election and to vote on the actual voting day. So I am not a fly-by-night, as it were. And if you look at people who are here as well, we have the Zimbabwe National Students Union represented. We have young women from the MDC Alliance also represented here. These are young women coming from spaces where they already lead movements. unlike what Comrade Ostalos is talking about, it's just a group of 3-4 young women who could not even identify who their constituency or their constituencies are. I'll tell you my constituencies with hashtag She Was 2018, that is the space I've been mobilizing and organizing for. And, another one will tell you I am from Zimbabwe National Students Union, where we are organizing students in tertiary institutions. And the MDC Alliance, young women who are part of this movement are also here. So for me, I don't think we have started organizing ourselves simply because of this. I said at the start that we are not a reactive movement, but we are people who are coming from different movements, different spaces, and coming together to support a candidate whose vision and leadership we believe in, who has been speaking passionately to the issues of women, especially women. And I gave a case in point of the Harare Hospital incident where he spoke passionately about the maternal mortality rate and how he will reduce it after he assumes office. So for me, selective safeguarding of women's rights, I think we continuously speak to these issues every day. It's unfortunate that maybe you might have missed our statements as hashtag She Was 2018, as NASU, as young women in the Alliance, condemning violence of any form. We continue to do this, and we do not select where the violence is happening. Although we cannot come out, because I think at that time when the violence happened, people expected us to come out and be the judges to say, this violence was committed by so and so. We are not detectives. We cannot tell, So it's better the party handles its internal issues and its internal matters. But where young women's issues are concerned and where the future of Zimbabwe is concerned, for us, Nelson Chamisa is a cut above the rest. And as young women, we are going to stand with him. Are you not doing more harm than good? I think that for the longest of time, we have allowed people to abuse women's emotions, to just, misrepresent issues, distort issues, and sometimes it's outright fiction. Things are made up so that women are angry. We are told that, there's no space at all in the alliance for women, they're excluded. And then you look at yourself, for those who are in the alliance, Virginia here, Cecilia, and others, they look at themselves in the mirror and ask, am I not a woman? But I'm trying to rise, I'm in the party. We are trying to fight from within. The issue of gender representation is an issue that we've been fighting for years and years. Even in America, they have not achieved 50-50. We continue to strive, we continue to fight. There is no political space that is perfect. And for us, we have elected to do it from within the political parties. I respect my sisters who have decided to do it from another political space and organize themselves from there because they do not feel that they belong. But we feel we belong, and we feel we can change things from within, and we understand that we can increase the representation of women. And for us, we think that Nelson Chamisa has the answer to improve the social status of women. And then the other question was on alliance leadership. So if you understand the way the alliance leadership is put together, it is the presidents of the political parties that are signed to the alliance. So it is very difficult to say, if a president is already male and there was a Congress, we cannot change that. But however, we note with concern that most of the political parties in Zimbabwe are led by men. And this is something as a generation that we want to see changing. So for our generation, we understand, we are passionate about increasing women's participation in political recognition. And as we go forward, we believe that our fight will yield fruit. And we have a lot of young women who are already vying for political office, parliament, council. And when the opportunity comes for our political parties and their congresses, we'll make sure that we continue to push for women's representation as we have always done. But for the principles of the alliance, it is just like when we went into the Government of National Unity. I think when the talks happened, the negotiators, all of them were men, except one, Priscilla Msairam, which was the only female around the table. And this is something that people will continue to speak about, but it is about the nature and the structure of the alliance. However, I think if you go into these political parties, you'll find very vocal, very strong feminist voices. For example, in the MDCT, you have Tabita Kumalo, Borina Mpariwa. These are veteran trade unionists with a history of fighting, for democratization, for the freedoms of the people of this country. And what I found unfortunate is that women who have worked with these political parties and not found any problem. When they break rank with these political parties, they then start labeling those who choose to continue fighting from within as sellouts. They start to label you as people who do not want to work with other women. But what we are saying is that as a woman, I am fighting for the right to have choice, to have agency. And right now, if I have choice and I have agency, we are fighting to get to a point where I must be able to vote for a candidate, whether they're male or female, because of their capacity and because of their, commitment to deliver what I feel will improve my life at a personal level and even at a community level. It must not be about gender. It's not about being a woman. It's about gender, but it's not only about gender. We should get to that point where I go to a ballot and I pick one candidate because of their capacity, and I'm not labeled a sellout because I picked a man over a woman, or you as a gentleman, you pick a lady, and then you're not labeled a sellout by the men because you've not voted for one of your gender. The anatomy must not be the sole basis on which we transform our society. Then it's not sustainable. Anatomy is not sustainable. Let's talk capacity. Let's talk about deliverables. What is it that the candidate has to offer?
To those that were hurt by that statement, would it not be wise enough for the aspiring president to go to State House to apologize to those who were hurt by that statement, irrespective of its correctness, in your own understanding?
No, it's fine. Okay, fine. I'll take that. Actually, I think that has to come from him personally. We are not here to speak on his behalf, but we are just here to speak on what we understand about that statement.
Thank you.
We also have so many things that the current president of the country has done to the masses of the people that he has not apologized for. And we are not saying this because we are saying Nelson Chamisa should not apologize. But we are saying we've got critical things that happened in this country. The people are yearning for an apology. The people want to move forward. But there has to be truth in order for us to reconcile. And we should not dwell on these issues like what Maureen rightly said. This was a hyperbole. Chamisa was simply expressing that if the unthinkable happens, which is Mnangagwa winning the election, then you will do the unthinkable. We have critical issues that need to be addressed. As young women, we have issues that we have, and we feel Nelson Chamisa has prioritized these issues ahead of him being the president of this country. And we cannot just crucify Nelson Chamisa, yet we've got a whole president of the country at the moment who has not apologized for Gukura Hundu, who has not apologized for a lot of things that happened in this country. We need to concentrate on issues. As the young women, what we are saying as we are gathered here, we want a president who will address our issues. We want a president who is us at heart. And it's Nelson Chamisa. We're not selling anything here. We are not selling our birthright, like I had another comment come out from the crowd. We are here just to say, let's not be diverted by people who want to just rise up to advance their political careers. Let's focus on the issues and who has them at heart.
Do you think they need counseling?
I wouldn't know, but it's up to them if they do need counseling.
Okay, so unless there's a burning question. As soon as President Chamisa became clear about his ambition to run for president.
Specifically when? On your part?
You mean the actual date?
Yeah.
I cannot give you an actual date because this is an organic movement. It is just people coming together, and then we realize after a week or two that this organic movement is growing. We need to now start organizing and coordinating ourselves. But I can tell you that the moment President Nelson Chamisa became clear about his ambition to run for presidency, a lot of young women who were listening to him, following him, being inspired by him, then said, this is it for us. We'll put our vote on this man as a social contract that you will also respond to our issues and meet our needs as soon as he ascends into office.
What's your comment if maybe you don't think this presentation is rather a counter spin to sedate the society to what has already been said, which has been proven wrong maybe in the eyes of the community? Do you not think we're providing
for us it is not a counter spin. We are glad that this issue has been discussed because for the longest of time we've watched people focusing on non-issues. We've watched people abusing women and women's rights issues and, to advance their political agendas. And for us, we are at a point where we just need, the can of worms has been opened, let's talk about it. Are we talking about women's issues here, or are we just looking for, the political sympathy and vote? And for us, it's important that today we're able to clarify this and make our position clear. So, there no other persons for giving us your